Gentlemen, boys, listen up, listen up. I know this is the time right after the draft. You want to hear the recap show. Obviously needed a few days to gather my thoughts. And this year I've decided to do something a little bit special. I'm going to do two different types of shows. This show in particular is going to count down the draft recap. You can go through the timesheets in the description. I'll explain when specific picks are going to be broken down. What I'm going to be talking about here is the draft recap itself. What was some things that I noticed? Values, reaches, some questionable picks, and then we're going to go on to lottery picks. I am not going to give you your report card yet in this video. However, I just want to take a look at the draft, and then I will individually break down every team and see where they can go from there. If you are new, I basically told you before the draft started, this is a total different type of league. We take this very, very seriously, and I try to get the podcast done whenever I can, whenever I have the time to do so. Right now, I am in a pretty decent mood, so I figured, okay, let me break this stuff down. So, bottom line is, let's talk about the draft recap. And for those of you that were mocking, for those of you that were doing research, I think we all know if you're a strategic based drafter, the first thing that you had to kind of look at was round number 2 is certainly going to dictate what you are going to be doing in the draft. And what I pretty much predicted was when the running backs go away, it's going to force the people in the front end of the draft to go receiver heavy. Now, the benefit for drafting in the back end was you had a lot of options to go with stacking either 2 wide receivers or 2 running backs. So I think most of the league, I believe, was kind of best player available. You didn't really have a set strategy. It was if a guy was there at value, you were going to take it. But there was about 4 to 5 teams that went strategic based. Now, we already know that in the front end of the draft, once Aaron Jones was off the board from B Magic in round 2, Allen, myself, and David were going to have to go the receiver route. However, David did a little bit different things. So Allen and me, I would say, were 0 RB or modified 0 RB, depending on how you look at it. Now, we all know that Allen Williams is a 0 RB savant. I think he's been doing this, for like 5 years in a row now. It's just a matter of, is he going to stack on receivers or is he going to go multiple tight end strategy? And as you see, he learns from his mistakes. And I'll get to the team recap once I get into it, but you saw the way his team was constructed. He hammered 4 wide receivers in a row and then took a lot of risks on these rookie running backs. Myself, obviously with the number 2 pick, I had the option of taking Saquon Barkley. And once Jones was off the board, there was no running back I was looking to touch until maybe round 5. So that's where you're going to see in my draft, I went 4 wide receivers. And then I sprinkled in, I only took maybe 4 running backs. So I'm really relying on the receivers. The thing that I thought was very, very interesting was the back end of the draft. Now, you keep hearing all these quote-unquote experts talk about how you need to get your running backs, and I don't subscribe to that method because at that point, you are basically drafting your team like everybody else, and you're not going to have the same type of production. You have to zig when everybody else zags. So that's why I'm thinking this is, by season's end, you're going to hear this method get into fruition. And again, I don't understand why these experts don't preach it enough. You can't keep taking these running backs unless they're an incredible value. So the guys at the back end that went, I would expect them, honestly, with the amount of running back value to fall. I was expecting 0 wide receiver. Now, Andre subscribes to that method in this one pretty much. He took Julio Jones. It was a modified 0 wide receiver, excuse me. But he really hammered running backs, and I think he took them maybe for trade bait, as you see that he did take a risk on Jalen Reagor with the shoulder injury. But if you look at the way his draft was set up, I think the next receiver taken was Marvin Jones in the 7th. So he really wanted to hammer on the running backs. I think he was looking for volume. He's got a lot of injuries, but if he works it out, he might find a way to succeed with this one. Here's the one that shocked me the most, and I think it was harsh going 0 RB at the back end when I personally thought maybe he was going to hammer a lot of these hype running backs. Now, I don't know what his thought process was. I'll get that into the report card for him, but the fact that the kid got Davante Adams in the 2nd round to pair up with Tyreek Hill is the perfect 1-2 combination. This is by far the best receiver duo in the league this season. Julio Jones is a consistent floor, Davante Adams is a consistent floor. and then Tyreek Hill can win you weeks. If he catches that first deep ball, you got to feel comfortable on Sunday. Think, you know what, I'm going to take this. But he went very risky in the running back department, relying on rookie Jonathan Taylor to take the load, which I think a lot of experts are thinking he's going to be the guy. But again, I think it's going to mean some injuries to happen. So I think the 4 teams that really went draft strategy were these guys, the 4 that I mentioned. And again, I thought it was you had to dictate if you were in the front end how the draft was going to come to you with the running backs that were going off. And, you know, you got to zig when everybody else zags. And I think it makes your team a little bit constructed differently. So that was one thing that I noticed. Another thing with having 3 new people in the league, one thing that I was saying is that quarterbacks might go a little bit earlier than expected. And I think it was kind of average. I don't think they went super early. I think Mahomes in the 3rd was a shock, but I expected Lamar probably to go in that round. And it wasn't even from a new kid. It was David with Patty Mahomes. But bottom line, man, this was an interesting draft. You saw a lot of reaches. You saw a lot of value start to drop. And the one thing that this draft had was a lot of trades. Now, the one guy who's the master of, I guess, calculating where guys are going to quote unquote fall and he wants to strike at the opportunity is Johnny, which is why you're going to see in the values that a lot of his players are going to fall under the value category. The other thing that I did see was last year, I think handcuffs went earlier than expected because you had 2 teams in particular that took them much earlier than expected, and then the frenzy started. Now, I think B Magic had alluded to in the draft, I don't want to be that guy. I'm going to set the trend with defenses. It really doesn't really happen that often. However, I think there wasn't really a trend that happened in this one because I feel like once the quarterback started to go, you had guys like Josh Allen that were still available, Matthew Stafford, Carson Wentz, Tom Brady. So it wasn't necessarily a frenzy. I think they were taken at appropriate value, if that makes any sense. So that was one thing that I noticed. So the next chapter, when we come back, I am going to break down some of the values based on early round value, mid round value, and late round value. So, of course, when you go into a draft, there's always, you know, an option where you're going to say to yourself, okay, man, there's a guy that I think might fall to me. And this, at times, falls under to what I call the value-based categories. So now everybody has a different perspective of how you're going to break down, you know, what is considered an early round? What's the range that's considered a mid round? What's the range that's considered a late round? Now, me personally, I'm a little bit different. I always say that the early rounds are rounds 1, 2, 3. Once round 4 starts, that's when the draft, you know, it gets a little bit spicy. It gets hot. You know what I'm saying? Like you're trying to go after your guy, and you're doing a lot of reaches at that point. So I honestly consider my mid rounds 4 through 8. Now, technically, if you want to be technical and be that guy, you will say, well, wouldn't 4 through 9 because wouldn't late rounds suffice as, you know, double-digit rounds, which is fine. But I'm saying if we're doing it a round apart, the way I broke down the value in this one was the early rounds are 1 to 3, mid rounds 4 to 8, and late rounds 9 through whatever we did, which was 18, I believe. So I'm going to pick 2 to 3 guys if I can. I mean, I can't break down every single pick or else this video might be 2 hours long, but let's get into it. So early round values, in my personal opinion, I had to narrow it down to a few guys. Rounds 1, 2, 3, and it's funny because I passed up on both of these guys because you know me, I'm all about, you know, swinging for the fences. But the first early round value guy I have to say was DeAndre Hopkins at the end of the 2nd round. Now, the knock on Hopkins, the only knock you can really say is not talent. I know his numbers weren't Hopkins-esque last year, but he was catching everything thrown in his direction. The reason why I felt like he fell to a value is because this is it's a new team. But if you're a DeAndre Hopkins believer or a truther, you're going to say, this guy has caught passes with Osweiler. How hard can it be? Now, yes, that is a very, very good statement. However, this is an uptick, fast-paced type of offense. They run a lot of plays. Hopkins, yes. Houston was middle of the pack as far as pace of play was concerned last year. Going into Arizona, Hopkins is a veteran. I think he's got at least a good 5 years left in him before he starts to dip off, because you're starting to see like these guys go into the slot more once they lose that burst, because technical, they know where the zones are. And I feel like he's going to become that type of receiver later on in his career. But my personal knock on him, why I passed up on him, is just because I think it's going to be a lot of volume, which you're going to like. I just don't know if the production is going to be there, but I do think by seasons, and if he's healthy with a new quarterback, I think he's going to finish still as a wide receiver one, but it might be on the lower end of the spectrum there. Bottom line is Arizona's going to run a lot of plays. So you got to like that, as long as his body can keep up and stay up with the fast-paced offense of Arizona. It's an offense that you want to be heavily invested in. So I think that was probably one of the best values, because this guy, in drafts was getting taken at the early second, maybe even mid-second. And this guy pretty much, if you want to be technical, was a third-round pick. So I think that was incredible value in the early round. The next guy that I want to talk about in the early round is... So the other guy who went on in the value discussion is going to be Allen Robinson. Now, okay, did a lot of research, and I think me personally, I know I'm just talking about me because that's all I have to go on. I mean, it's just my personal preferences, which is why this is, recorded on my channel or whatnot. But my thing with Allen Robinson is the guy's going to get force-fed targets. Anthony Miller, we don't know if he's 100%. Nick Foles or Mitch Trubisky, I honestly don't think it matters, to be quite honest. They don't have a tight end. David Montgomery is hurt. They're going to be behind in a lot of games. Like, come on. This guy's going to get force-fed targets, and he's a great man-to-man beater. If this guy was just getting jump ball after jump ball, I'd be a little bit concerned with the success and volume, because it's going to lead to a lot of injury. This is why you see guys like Mike Williams get force-fed all these air yard targets, but it's all jump ball based, and he's going to get hurt. He just can't stay healthy. Robinson is a pure route runner. He's one of the best in the league. Man to man, there is not a corner in that division that can cover him. So why did I pass up on him? I heard he has an ankle injury. Now, my whole thing is early rounds, I don't care if it's like a blister. I'm frightened of injuries early on. Now, this could be absolutely nothing, and Johnny will probably start talking his shit when he goes off to be the wide receiver, one. A lot of experts, you were either on Allen Robinson or you were buying it because of the targets. My problem with it was, though, if you said to me during the NFL draft, where would you take Allen Robinson? I think most of us would say where Johnny took him. I'd consider maybe early fourth, late third. All of a sudden, all these experts are the aggressive experts, excuse me. I don't want to put them all into one category. They're putting him in as a top 5, top 10 receiver because of volume and targets alone, which is perfectly fine, and I don't have a problem with it. Again, my issue was I saw that he has an ankle injury. There's not enough updates. There's not enough reports on it. It's very hard without preseason to kind of make a decision, and that's what you're going to see with a lot of these value picks. I think a lot of them fell because of that. We only really have to go off of beat reporters, which, let's be honest, are right maybe 30% of the time. And then you're also going off of training camp reports. And it's hard to take coach speak as the only thing to go off of. So that's why I was just being a little bit conservative. No matter how you look at it, I don't know. But I think this is incredible value if he hits. You are now getting him at what I think the generic community would take him at. And considering this is more of a hardcore expert league, I think that was an incredible value. So I can't even hate on that. You just got to hope that he stays healthy. Okay, moving along. I have 3 guys. I wanted to cut it down into 2 that I wanted to narrow, but I want to give an honorable mention here for the mid-round guys. This is rounds 4 through 8. There are really, and I'm going off of my rankings. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, but I had a lot of these guys that were ranked pretty high. Mid-round value guys, what had happened. Now, again, one thing you got to understand is I felt like when guys wanted to make a trade for somebody like the Johnnies of the world, it's because there was somebody that kept falling and falling and falling in the draft. Just me personally. That's what I think had happened, and it shows with the first guy who was taken in the 5th round, Mark Andrews. I think this is incredible value, all right? Because the bottom line is I think Kittle and Kelsey are in a tier by themselves at this point in their careers. By the way, Kittle, I think would be a great value in the third round, but like I think he's kind of established already, so I didn't want to put him there on here, but he's a good early round value as well. The thing with Mark Andrews was you were scared because of the super efficiency that he had last year on such limited amount of snaps. If you're a Mark Andrews truther, the counter argument is, well, Hayden Hurst is not there anymore, so his snaps will go up, which means that his year might be the same as last year because he's going to see more snaps on the field. Now, that's what every Mark Andrews truther is going to put in their brain, and they're going to expect perfection. Now, I honestly think now, we know the Ravens are the one offense that's different than everybody else. I think they kept these guys rotating in and out, so there wasn't a lot of film on them, and they couldn't expose their weaknesses. But I do think that Mark Andrews is a really good tight end. So with that being said, I don't know if they have Nate Boyle, whatever the fuck his name is. They're going to run heavy tight end sets. I can't see 30 to 40% of the snaps. It was weird because it was like they brought him in the red zone and he delivered for you last year. Now, Mark Andrews, okay, was priced as a late third, fourth. Johnny gets him in the fifth, so I do think that this is a good value pick. Also, I don't want to get too much into the construction of Johnny's team, but I think with the amount of tight end, I don't know why he overstacked on tight ends, but, you know, if Andrews doesn't pan out, I don't know if it costs him that much, but I gotta say, man, Mark Andrews in the fifth was a slam dunk. So later on in the mid round, this guy, I was stunned that just kept falling and falling and falling in the draft because I had this guy as my wide receiver 31. I had him ranked, you know, I don't want to say aggressive, but above normal. And this guy was taken in the eighth round by David. It's Christian Kirk. I think this is an incredible value. Now, the issue, and I think the reason why I think he kept why he was falling was because I think a lot of people round 6 through 7 were targeting handcuffs, either maybe some other receivers, quarterbacks, and you started to see some tight ends go off the board in this range, which somebody's got to get left out. Now, I know the knock on Christian Kirk. I don't think this guy is a true alpha wide receiver one. Okay, that's why I did not like him last year at the price of wherever Morris took him last year in our draft. I do think that his body started to like take a toll when he was asked to do a lot in this Arizona Cardinals offense. But you saw the potential. There were a few games last year where he went completely off. I think maybe it was 2 or 3. The one that stands out because he beat me that week, David Cryer, you know, gambled and it paid off, was against the Bucs. And I get it. This is when the Bucs D was at its worst. But the bottom line is his role does not change at all. Hopkins is going to be the guy that they line up all over the field. Christian Kirk has one responsibility. It's, can you run 2 routes in this offense, maybe even 3? Can you have your base route as a go route and then mix in a comeback route, deep comeback if you're a good route runner, or into an out route? Like, it's literally a combination of option routes if he is not running that go route. Now, while the volume might go down, this is a team that runs a lot of plays. If you're looking at the Rams and they, you know, had three receivers that were relevant because they run a lot of plays, Arizona most definitely will have 2 to 3 wide receivers that are relevant in the fantasy community. So I really like this guy. I think I really like this guy. I just feel like, you know, he's always going to be drafted in that weird Deontay Johnson, Marvin Jones tier of like, are they deep threats or can they do more kind of thing. So really, 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 really like this value pick a lot. Now, I don't know how that's going to pan out when you have both Arizona Cardinals receivers starting, but the bottom line is there's going to be enough plays run by this team. Okay, Kingsbury is not going to dial down the pace of play or the snaps. So I am on board with Christian Kirk as an 8th round pick. Last but certainly not least, let's now go into the insane late round values. There are 3 guys I want to talk about in this. Now, granted, I am not baking in, okay? This is where lottery ticket section comes in. I am not baking in this guy is going to be a stud. If we don't know that yet, That's why that goes into the lottery ticket segment. So this is why I want to break this down. This is not a guy, okay, that I think has the potential to be a beast like a backup running back or a rookie wide receiver. Those are lottery tickets. So let me get that straight, all right? Bottom line is, who are the late round values? We're going to start at round 9, and that's going to be me with Jamison Crowder. Look, I don't like the Jets. I think they suck. I think that they are going to, honestly, I think for the amount of hate that the Jags are getting, I think the Jets should certainly get the same amount of hate. But again, there's going to be a lot of garbage time, okay? Offensive line sucks. Their defense is god awful. If I'm CJ Mosley, I opt out. Without Jamal Adams, dude, this secondary is going to be torched. Mark my words right now. The streamer for DFS is going to be against the Jets defense. So Dawson Knox in week 1, fire him up. They are not going to be able to cover anybody. I know they're hyping up Marcus May, but I feel like the Jets beat reporters are trying to hype up anybody they can to make it seem like there are people that are out there trying, guys. I mean, come on, let's be honest. This is ridiculous. Bottom line, now let's talk about Jamison Crowder. I love him. I think if he stays healthy, that's the big if with this guy. I think Coffee got him around the same round last year, but look, him and Chris Herndon are the only guys. If you want to throw Ryan Griffin, that's fine. With chemistry with Sam Darnold, he is in the slot. Again, there is no preseason. There's not a lot of film study in the offseason that they can put into, plans of action with the preseason. And I think this guy is going to have to rely on his route running ability. Now, I saw a joke on Twitter today. He's going to finish with 115 catches and only 600 yards. That might happen, but bottom line is this. Listen up here. This is a half point per PPR. He is not going to be a wide receiver 2, okay? But he is going to be a very safe, best case scenario, low end 2 that always gets, when I say low end, it means he's hitting 10 to 11 and that's it. Like he could potentially be like an 80% Keenan Allen that you're getting in the 9th round. That's all I'm saying there. He had 6 touchdowns last year. It's not like he's just, a little slot guy. He can score. I just think it was incredible value considering his ADP was in the 7th round. Here's another guy where, in the draft, you're a little bit buzzed. And I don't start looking at my sheet at all, but this could have been, I don't remember what trades. It was 12th, 13th round, and I'm amazed that this guy does not get taken. Look, I think everybody in fantasy football had this guy as the number 1 fade. Okay, I really have not seen any positive reports about buying this guy. However, when his ADP was in the 9th round, and this person gets him in that 13th, which is at, if you do the math, a 4-round discount. Look, he might bust, but I've got to give the value card to Johnny on Tyler Higbee. I'm sitting in the draft and I'm wondering to myself, whoa, hold on a minute. This guy did not get taken at all. A lot of people don't believe the random small sample size because why? You have the fantasy community that bring out regression police and efficiency and how that's going to also regress. It absolutely might regress. That's fine. Bottom line is this. With Brandon Cooks gone, those targets have to go somewhere. We know it's going to be Kupp. We know it's going to be Woods. So he is the guy that you're trying to figure out, well, are they going to have another receiver? But the biggest concern about this guy is Gerald Everett coming back. Because when Gerald Everett was on the field, Gerald Everett was actually very, very, very serviceable as a low-end tight end 1. There were games I remember. He was weird because he wasn't getting touchdowns, but he was getting a lot of possession gains, man. It was weird. My cop-out answer, and I don't think Higbee is amazing by any means. I think it was just McVay started to, add him in because they don't have all the personnel that they did last year. Me personally, I just think that he's going to be a decent pick. I don't think he's going to be quote-unquote amazing, but I do feel like with Gerald Everett there too, it's going to be weird weeks, and I think he's going to be a sell-high candidate maybe, but if the guy comes out of the gates and his role is unchanged, it's one of those guys where you're going to have to look at snap count percentage and what he does. A lot of people look at how he played the Cardinals. I believe it was twice in that, and that's why a lot of people aren't buying him. Look, it's perfectly fine. The bottom line is this. You didn't take him at his ADP. You waited and said, fuck it. So I like it. I like it there in the 13th round. Here's the fun part about doing this series now. We're going to now get into what I'd like to call reach picks galore. So for those of you that are joining me, let's be honest. A draft is not a draft without reaches. Now, sorry I had to move away a little bit. So if you are wondering what happened to my voice, I'm still here. Don't worry about it. But bottom line is this. Reaches are reaches, ladies and gentlemen. And every draft, it's because you have to get your guy. And I subscribe to that method pretty much every year. Why are you buying in on what somebody is telling you? If your gut tells you you have to get this guy, you have to get your guy. Now, bottom line, where do the reaches most likely occur? It's whenever you're at the ends of the draft. Top three or bottom three. Smack in the middle, you don't see a lot of reaches there because unfortunately you got to, not unfortunately, but you play best value available, best player available, whatever you want to call it. Reaches are going to be reaches. So the first reach that happened was, happened earlier than expected, but with all the injuries, I decided to go with my main man, Tyler Lockett. Look, Lockett's playing the Doug Baldwin role. He has the most chemistry with Russell Wilson. Okay, said that back to back. He is the slot guy. Look, that offensive line sucks. Again, Russell Wilson's going to have to scramble out of the pocket. My man, Tyler Lockett, is always the guy that is there. Look, I've seen a track record with slot guys with Russell Wilson, and this is probably the best slot guy that he's ever had because he can do more than just run deep routes, okay? Look, I think, yes, are there other receivers I could have taken over? Absolutely, I'm not denying that. But I do feel like, and this is the argument I have to give with Allen, I do feel like, where I know the next guy coming up was the biggest shock of the world, but, if he fits in with your scheme, then so be it. That's the way I see it. So I do think that this is still Russell Wilson's guy. I do think that Metcalf and Lockett can both have good years, bottom line. Okay, so funny thing was, man, this is when the draft got really pumped, at least for me and Allen, because it was back-to-back where you saw insane reaches. DJ Chark in the third round. Talk about a believer, man. This was the guy, I think, if you're building your thing on hype, who is the one hype guy you will go any distance to go and get? This year was DJ Chark. I think I had DJ Chark within my top 20 over receivers. I think DJ Chark, considering, I know this is a cop-out, but look, this is why I really like strategic-based drafting. The game script is going to favor him. He showed signs with Minshew of being an elite. I'll say that again, an elite wide receiver because I do think he is going to be elite, and the target volume is going to be there. Look, the only guys. Look, they don't even have a running game now with Fournette gone. Okay, Gardner Minshew might throw like 55 times a game, and I'm not even over exaggerating when I say that. They bring in Laviska Shenault, who I also do like a lot in this offense, and Chris Conley is, he's kind of just there. Chris Conley's the type of guy, if you're the quarterback and you're scrambling, you're like, oh, wow, he's open, let me throw it to him. He's just that type of guy. DJ Chark, okay, the other thing, too, I don't know if this had an effect on Allen, and Allen, I know you'll respond to this. Jay Gruden offense and how he utilizes his alphas, possibly that was something because I know you love Jay Gruden. So I just think that this guy is sky's the limit. I'm not hating on it too much because he didn't. Yes, he overpaid in ADP, but he is also his quote-unquote flex option. So the way that I see that, and considering who he got as a flex too, this is not an option. I don't have any problems with this pick at all. Especially I can't even talk because I took Lockett before that. So I have no idea. I have no issue with this reach. The next reach that I want to talk about, this is a mid-round guy that happened in the 6th rounds, and I felt like if you're reaching for this guy, it's all honestly because of one thing, and that's because you went receiver heavy, and that is exactly why this happened. I mean, there's no other way to put it. This guy got taken for a reach because he was stacked at receivers, and it's Zach Moss in the 6th round to my man Harsh Godin. Now, Harsh, you're going to see that, and if you're following this reaches, look at the first 3 teams that I'm naming as reaches, is because they went receiver heavy. So it's so funny that this is kind of a coincidence. These strategic based moves, guys, force you to reach. Bottom line. So Zach Moss, love him. I don't have a problem with the reach because he was the guy I was targeting on the back end. However, Cam Akers fell into my lap somehow. But Zachary Moss, I think, has the best chance to overtake this backfield. Okay, same draft capital was spent on him that they spent on Devin Singletary. When I watched Devin Singletary, the only reason why I feel like you loved him last year and you wanted him to get the touches last year is because Frank Gore was still a thorn in everybody's side. Okay? Let's take out Frank Gore and put in a Zach Moss. You're going to be rooting for Zach Moss to take over this job. I do not see Devin Singletary holding on to this job. I think he's nervous. He's fumbling a lot of can't. Devin Singletary is a good backup running back. I don't think he is a great workhorse type of a back. I think last year, I don't know if anybody had him last year that won. I think Harsh maybe had him last year. I don't remember. But I don't think Singletary is a guy that, he's a guy who needs volume to produce for the fantasy world is what I'm trying to say. The minute Zach Moss takes over, bro, it's a wrap. Now, I like the guy a lot. Could you have waited for something else? Probably not, because the way your draft was, scripted and how you were doing that, and I think you didn't know much about Cam Akers. I had Akers above Moss, but they're still in my same tier, so I'm not faulting you at all for that. I think I had Cam Akers was RB like 30, and I think I had Moss at like 34, so they weren't far apart. I do think with the amount of running plays that they're going to do, look, bottom line is this. If Josh Allen steals touchdowns, I think maybe Moss's value is capped a little bit, but I do think by season's end, he should be the starter. Let's keep moving it along. Let's keep moving it along. All right. So I don't know if I have the right to call this a reach just because I think that it was quote unquote in the later rounds. However, somebody drafted this guy 4 rounds later, not even thinking he would go off the board. And that is Mecole Hardman in the 7th round. Look, fantasy community wants this guy to get the reps. I want him to get the reps. Bottom line is this. If Sammy Watkins packs his bags and say, so long, Kansas City, I think this guy has established himself as a 5th-round pick in that hype tier. Bottom line, because he's 3rd for targets, because you still got to consider Tyreek, Travis Kelce, Mecole Hardman. Mecole Hardman in the 7th round, you better hope this guy is going to be the quote-unquote guy. Now, Alex, I know that you take him. There is some positive news here, is that our league does get 25 point, or not 25 points, that'd be ridiculous. 1 point per 25 return yards, and Mecole Hardman is still going to be on return yards. So I don't think he's useless at that value. I think that there is potential for him to break away 2 kicks to the house for a touchdown. I really do think that. I think he's got tremendous upside in this offense if he gets the opportunity, but you need some injuries, and I think he's not going to really hit until it's Hill as the one who goes down, just because they drafted him because when Hill was in trouble, they felt like this could be a viable replacement. So I think that guy in the 7th round might have been a bit of a reach, but I understand the hype around it. So the bottom line is this. I think you need an injury for him to kind of be week in, week out amazing. Who knows? It could potentially happen. All right. Here we go. Now, this is when I'm going back at the draft. I know reaches are always going to be the quote-unquote questionable picks. Okay, I get that. So if you want to consider reaches being questionable picks, that is totally A-okay, fine. And I don't really have a problem with it. It's fine. Do whatever you want. It's everybody's opinion, yada, yada, yada. Here we go. These are the questionable picks that made my, head scratch just a little bit. Like, what were you thinking here? I'm not saying it's going to be a bust. Now, obviously, these guys are probably going to be guys that I was avoiding. The first guy that I want to say was a very big questionable pick was in the 4th round. Actually, 2 running backs go in the 4th round. 2 questionable picks are going to be for running backs in the 4th round, David Johnson and Le'Veon Bell. Okay, these are both guys that I was praying that somebody would take. I honestly thought, look, I always draft for worst case scenario to prepare myself for these drafts. I honestly thought that one of, maybe even both of these guys would be available in the late 5th. More so Bell. Now, let's start with because I think there's a lot of news on Bell, so I'll save him for last. Let's start with David Johnson. Now, okay, if you're the fantasy counselor in the counselor kit, you are, pounding the drum for David Johnson as an RB1. Needless to say, those days are gone, buddy. I am not buying this at all. Now, last year, I had the distinct decision to try to take David Johnson in the new air raid offense that everybody was talking about. And the more and more, this is why you need to watch film. This guy looks freaking old, and I didn't see anything. Even when he produced for Arizona with, what the hell was that coach's name? Steve Wilks? Yeah, he wasn't good. He was a volume dependent running back. He looks sluggish. He looks just out. I can't even say out of shape. I just don't think his body can take this anymore, man. I feel like when Bruce Arians had him, he unleashed him, and I think they just ran him to the ground. And I think that's starting to take a toll on his body. The good news is he might get the volume again with Bill O'Brien. Bill O'Brien is trying to prove to everybody that he won this trade. Here's my thing. I don't see this guy staying upright at all, number one. And I just don't think he's an effective running back. If you watch his runs between the holes, the minute it starts to close up, he's like a turtle going in his shell. He just looks sluggish, man. The only thing you have to hope on for him to return value is that this guy gets between 80 to 90 targets. Because in the pass game is the only way they can use him. But he's so ineffective as a runner. I'm very nervous for Deshaun Watson. I'm a big Watson believer. I love Deshaun Watson. I don't know how this team is going to turn out if he can't get a good running game. Honestly, I think Carlos Hyde is a better inside the tackles runner than David Johnson at this point in their career. That's saying a lot. So I am not very, very bullish on David Johnson. Now, okay, next questionable pick guy. I got to say it. It's Le'Veon Bell in the 4th round. I don't know if I'm considering myself a Jets fan anymore. It sucks. I don't know. I've been big on the Raiders, so I don't know if I'm still a Jets fan. I feel like because I was a kid, I still have to hold on to it. But look, Adam Gase is a freaking moron. Adam Gase just likes sabotaging teams. I literally think that this guy wakes up every single morning and says to himself, I'm getting paid today to sabotage this next team. Look at all the guys who have become stars outside of Adam Gase. The only guy, I'll say it again, there's only one guy that Adam Gase made, and it was Jay Cutler. I don't know why that's a thing, but look, he made Jay Ajayi too, so fine, 2 guys, but Kenyon Drake is a beast elsewhere. Jarvis Landry he does a lot more than what he did in Miami. Devontae Parker. Dude, this guy had Devontae Parker. Why did you not unlock him, bro? I don't get it. I just don't like this man. I'm sorry. Adam Gase is good for unlocking 3rd-string scrubs. It's bottom line what he is. That's not Le'Veon Bell, but he's treating him like one. And I just, feel bad for Bell. I think this is not the best situation for him to be in. Oh, yeah. And then he tried to trade for Kalen Balazs. Get out of here, Adam Gase. I'm just very nervous that Le'Veon Bell, he's nowhere near the RB1 he used to be in Pittsburgh. I know last year, as bad as he was getting, decent PPR games. But I feel like at this point, his floor might be 8 points. And I think where you spent him, you need a floor with some upside. I know week 1 last year, it looked like Le'Veon Bell was back to his old self in Pittsburgh, and we really didn't see it since. But positive news, if you're, banking on Le'Veon Bell to bounce back, look, he's got Sam Darnold healthy. He did not have that for a full month last year. So I think, does that change? Possibly. But Adam Gase is just the main reason I don't like it. He contradicts himself, saying he can't wait to unleash Le'Veon Bell. He looks good, and then it comes out, yeah, guys, he still looks out of shape. That's not a headache I want to deal with. So I think good luck to you, B Magic, with Le'Veon Bell, because I know it's not going to end well as a Jets fan. The next guy I want to touch on here is another guy who was kind of questionable, but I guess you're buying into the hype of him, was Hayden Hurst in the 7th round. Now, I know Patrick is new to this league. And I think Patrick pretty much had a standard, generic draft until the 7th round with Hayden Hurst. Oh, wait, you are a Falcons fan. That explains it. As I'm talking in mid-thought, just kind of hit me. Look, that's fine. I don't know if he would have been taken that high. He could, look, I think he's got all the opportunity to kind of, be that guy, because I do think he was better than Austin Hooper. Maybe not blocking, but I think receiving-wise, I think he's better than Austin Hooper. So maybe he pans out, but I think 7th round was a little rich for, I think, a lot of people's blood, but I totally forgot you're a Falcons fan, so maybe that explains it. I mean, I don't know everybody too well as far as the new guys are concerned, but maybe that was it. So maybe that's the reason why. But that was a little bit of a head scratcher because now you have to rely on, which is why me personally, I always wait for tight ends, but now you have to hope that he kind of hits into that mid to elite tier. So he's got to like, really, really live up to expectations. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Okay, the other tight end that I thought was a little bit questionable, and yes, he does have the hype built around him, and the training camp reports, everything looks nice, everything looks good. This is a definition of getting your guy, but in a round where it won't cost you. And I think this was the right thing to do, but I'm still a little, scratching my head a little bit because I think maybe you could have waited, but then again, maybe Harsh was making you nervous. That's TJ Hawkinson in the 10th round. I just felt like after Hayden Hurst went off the board, I just felt like it was anybody's favorite game to get like a tight end. So, I mean, you know how I feel about tight ends. I don't like them. I just feel like, every year I'll rather, take a backup tight end and hopefully that he pans out kind of thing. So I can't hate on it. It's a tight end. If it doesn't work out, there are tons that are still available in free agency, honestly. So, yeah. I thought that was an interesting pick, Mr. Coffee. 10th round, man. You're really, really buying into the talent. Now, the thing is, like, everybody says to themselves, and the reason why I'm always not big on tight end is, you're always going to say, oh, yeah, he's going to be a tight end one, or he's going to be in that elite tier tight end. Bottom line is this. Nobody is going to be on the Travis Kelce tier or George Kittle tier. The only one I can think of that has that potential is Darren Waller if he takes his game to the next step. These other guys, I do feel like will be middling of the pack, though, so I feel like if you get him in the 10th, I think his upside is returning value in maybe that like 5th, 6th round range. Look, they're a pass first team. Logan Thomas is gone. I know he was taking snaps last year if you want to get technical with it, but he's their guy. I think it's a matter of you saw week 1 in Arizona, and I know kind of a cop out. We know Arizona didn't defend tight ends. I get it. But bottom line is this, we saw the potential. We saw the potential on how they can use him. I think he's by default 3rd in targets. Potentially even say 2nd on this team. Does he have potential to lead the team in touchdowns? I'm going to say that's going to be tough because I do like Marvin Jones and Golladay are both red zone monsters, but they have not had a good receiving tight end in the red zone since Brandon Pettigrew. So I do like this pick if it pans out. I was just shocked. I don't think it's because I think he's a bust. I was just shocked to see him go that early is why I said this was kind of questionable. Okay, so now the last segment before I make the next video, which is called Draft Report Cards. This next segment, ladies and gentlemen, what is going to happen here? This segment is what I like to call lottery tickets. Now, what does a lottery ticket mean for those of you that are new to fantasy football in this league in particular, or if you've never heard the term before? So a lottery ticket is a guy that you take late in the draft or that has potential value to take over and be a league-winning guy, meaning this is a guy you got late in the draft, and he might return value if he gets that opportunity. Now, a lot of these quote-unquote lottery ticket guys are going to be guys that I think, are more so on the running back echelon more than they are the wide receiver. Now, here's the thing. I am not putting draft capital where you took them into consideration of a lottery ticket. Again, you know what I'm saying? Like if somebody was stupid enough to take like Kareem Hunt in like round 3, that's not a lottery ticket anymore. However, I think once the mid-round start, I can officially say that it is a lottery ticket because look, there's a bunch of late round guys that I can name off, but let me name the first, like the mid-round lottery tickets. The first guy I want to say that is the first lottery ticket in the mid-round is Mr. Kareem Hunt. I am a huge Nick Chubb fan. I am a lover of Mr. Nick Chubb. I think he's one of the best pure running backs in the league. But my only concern here with Nick Chubb is that Kareem Hunt and Stefanski involved. Stefanski likes to mix and match his running backs. I know last year he didn't, but he wanted to. It was just that Dalvin Cook was on a whole nother level of awesomeness last year. Now you're getting a split committee where Kareem Hunt is taking away the catching. And honestly, as much as I love Nick Chubb and I think he can be a beast at the goal line, the numbers do show last year he was not very good. Kareem Hunt, if he gets the receiving work and the quote unquote goal line work, has just become an incredible value. However, Andre already traded them away. Kareem Hunt is a great lottery ticket. I think standalone value, he is going to produce. Bottom line, this is why he made sense as a lottery ticket. And I'll take the Nick Chubb bias aside. Nick Chubb, if he's getting 8 points, he's doing it most likely with 80 rushing yards or maybe even one catch. For Kareem Hunt to get to 8 points, he just needs to catch maybe 3 passes and chunk in a few carries and yards. Like, see what I'm saying? He's the PPR guy, and they're going to utilize him in a lot of creative ways. I think they have a good coach now to do it. Their offensive line is really good. I think Kareem Hunt, I don't see Chubb going down with injury, but I do feel like Kareem Hunt is a guy who can sustain mid to low end RB2 value. He's my first lottery ticket. Second lottery ticket we're going to come up right now. And it's funny because this is now a guy who's got 2 guys in my lottery ticket range. I, for one, was very big on this guy back in May. And with injuries and stuff like that, I've slowed my roll just a little bit. That's pretty much how I think about Mr. Diontae Johnson. Um, Big Paul, I don't remember if you had trades because I think it says 7th round. I don't know if you had 2-6. I don't have the board. I don't have the picture of the board. So my apologies, Paul. I know you want me to be very accurate in how you put in everything. I get it. But look, let's talk about Diontae. Look, I was huge on Diontae Johnson. Like last year when I said who are my top 10 guys after the season ended to own, he's my favorite lottery ticket. You're giving this guy a healthy Ben Roethlisberger. I think he's by far their best outside receiver. James Washington, not going to cut it. Not enough separation and constantly catches like Mike Wallace. Like he's not a very good receiver. He's a bust pick. The one guy I would have to look out for, though, if you're a James Washington guy, is Chase Claypool, because I do think that he is the other guy that could kind of wind up and stepping up. Now, I'm also hearing these weird reports that Juju Smith-Schuster is out of Pittsburgh. Bottom line is, he needs to stay this year for Diontae to be a beast. I like Diontae Johnson with Ben Roethlisberger on the outside because you know how Ben just likes to lounge and just chuck it deep down the field. I think Diontae Johnson is going to be his guy. He's a guy that you want if he's quote unquote healthy. I think you're starting him. I think it would have been a lot better if you had another guy that you can kind of rotate in, but I know you traded around a lot of guys, so I got to look at your team again. Sorry about that, but like he is a good lottery ticket. I think Diontae Johnson's range of outcomes, I don't want to say wide receiver 1 because that would mean that we'd have to finish as a top 12 wide receiver, but he is going to be a weekly winner for Paul or whoever has him by season's end. If he's healthy, he's going to be that guy that when he busts, it's 7 points, but when he hits, it's 18 to 20. Those are the type of guys you like to get as a lottery ticket. He is a breakout candidate. It's just a matter of Ben's health and his health, which is why I think he went down the boards. I honestly had David Sutton projected to take him because I know that is the typical receiver that he wants. So he could be a lottery ticket. All right, here we go. Next lottery ticket guy that I really want to talk about. Now, I want to talk about a running back, and it's a guy, obviously, that I took, but I just want to just throw this out there. Guys like the DeAndre Swifts of the world, okay, they were, taken in the 5th round, and he's still kind of hurt and whatnot. But this guy, I couldn't leave my draft without, and that's Chase Edmonds. I love Chase Edmonds. I think this guy, this was like the Willy Wonka golden ticket in my opinion. Out of all the guys for backup running backs that could potentially be A1 studs, you saw it last year when he had the opportunity, even splitting time with David Johnson. Kenyon Drake is already in a walking boot. I'm just gonna throw it out there. I couldn't leave my draft without this guy. I'm hoping that he pans out in a big way, and that would be my man Chase Edmonds. So I'm just wishing the best. Okay, so I want to switch it up. I know if you've been following this whole video, the first three guys that I just mentioned were running backs. Okay, they were running backs that could be potential lottery ticket guys, if you will. Um, this is a receiver though, and I think that I'm going to consider him a lottery ticket of where he was taken. Now, the guy who would have fit this bill to a T was Jalen Reagor, but Jalen Reagor is hurt, and we don't know how severe that injury is, so he is off this list. So bringing another rookie, and that's going to be in round 10 where Johnny got Jerry Jeudy. Um, Jerry Jeudy was a guy I didn't know where I wanted to take him, but I do feel like he is officially a lottery ticket. And if you want to call it a value, that's fine. I'm saying lottery ticket because I do feel like if Drew Lock, it all depends on Drew Lock. If Drew Lock can't unlock Noah Fant, Courtland Sutton, and Jerry Jeudy, Drew Lock just sucks, and they're going to be drafting a quarterback. Bottom line. So Jerry Jeudy, was the one Bama receiver that everybody was kind of shocked that he fell to the Denver Broncos. Look, I think they made the right call. They were like, "Fuck it, give me Jerry Jeudy." I think with Courtland Sutton being the alpha on the outside and just bullying defensive backs like he did last year, you're going to need a guy who's not only strong, but is very, very precise in his route running and going over the intermediate portion of the field. Bottom line is this. KJ Hamler, I think somebody else took him. He's another guy that I like a lot too because he'll probably be the slot-esque guy, and Noah Fant. There's a lot of weapons here in this Denver offense. I don't trust freaking Drew Lock to be like this new, holy crap, this dude is on fire type of guy. But I do feel like but I think he can support two people on a weekly basis. I don't know about three because I do have to factor in the second guy in targets is either going to be Noah Fant or Jerry Jeudy. Jerry Jeudy's draft capital and the fact that he is, not going to get peppered with targets, but he is the Robin to Courtland Sutton's Batman. He could potentially be starting in a flex spot. He could potentially start in a flex spot, bottom line. Okay, I want to, just because I don't want to keep clicking record, stop, record, stop. There are two guys that I think we're taking. This is based on how I put them in. They were definitely round 10, 11 picks. These are two guys that have potential, if there's an injury in front of them, could definitely be league-winning lottery ticket guys. And I think that they have the most upside based on their athleticism, based on the offenses that they play in. My two favorite late running back lottery tickets would have to be Darrell Williams on Kansas City and Jerick McKinnon on San Francisco. So let's just break it down. Now, when Damian Williams got cut, I think everybody in the world thought DeAndre Washington, he's your definition of a balanced back, and he played with Pat Mahomes at Texas Tech. And I had him ranked aggressively, but I'm pissed. I'm really, really pissed because I was planning on taking Darrell Williams in like the 15th round when Washington was getting the buzz. But obviously now it's reversed, and that's why you saw Washington go in 14th, 15th. Darrell Williams now go up in the draft board. Bottom line, it's not freaking Darwin Thompson. I told you all that last year. It's not him. So Darrell Williams, I do think Eric Bieniemy is really, I think he's trying to motivate Clyde Edwards-Helaire, but he basically said, as far as coach speak, because we don't have anything else to go on, if you don't block, you're not getting on the field. Darrell Williams was specifically used in third down situations last year. I think worst case scenario for Darrell Williams, he's like Charcandrick West to Kareem Hunt when Kareem Hunt had his rookie season when they didn't have Spencer Ware. The minute Edwards-Helaire is not picking up the playbook, Darrell Williams is going to be in there, and Patty Mahomes is going to say, we're just going to chuck it. Darrell, go line up outside. I would not be at all shocked early on. Now, David, I know while I'm talking right now, you are hitting up Paul with the trade offer because you're going to tell him to listen to this. I know how it freaking goes, but this is fucking facts, bro. Listen to this. Everybody wants to bring up where the RBs finished in an Andy Reid system, and they're always like in top 10. The bottom line is this, okay? One thing that those guys are not talking to you guys about is who the proclaimed guy was supposed to be. Everybody is bringing up Deuce Staley and Brian Westbrook as guys that finished. Let's not forget, David being an Eagles fan, and you can fact check me on this, Correll Buckhalter was the guy that was supposed to be the guy, not Brian Westbrook. I'll repeat that again. It was Correll Buckhalter because they were phasing out Deuce Staley. Buckhalter had injuries. Brian Westbrook, he saw Andy Reid's a great talent evaluator, bottom line. So he saw something in Brian Westbrook. But Sean McCoy's rookie year, he was not anything in Philadelphia. He was somebody you were hoping to pan out. Didn't really happen. I believe it was still Westbrook at that point. Might have been his last year out, if I'm not mistaken. Now let's go to Kansas City. Charles was the only guy that fit the bill because he didn't bring in anybody. Spencer Ware was a fill-in guy, and Kareem Hunt was the guy who panned out because of injury. So I think that there is some optimism to have on Darrell Williams. Bottom line. I like Edwards-Helaire a lot. I think he's a complete back. I had him ranked RB6 in my rankings. But there's a possibility that they might, with no preseason, they might have to scale back his workload a bit. Bottom line, David, if Edwards-Helaire goes out, boom, throw in Darrell Williams. Next, Robert Coffey with Jerick McKinnon. This was a pick. I think this was another one where you took T.J. Hockenson early in 10th or 11th. I might get these rounds mixed up, but whatever. McKinnon, okay? I don't know who took Tevin Coleman. I really don't care. Tevin Coleman is not the answer. Raheem Mostert, okay? I think he's a good running back. I just don't know if they're ever going to use him in a workhorse kind of role. The minute I feel like Coleman and Mostert go down, I think McKinnon might have already third down value, and they're going to have to, get value from this guy because of the contract. This is now the first year in 2 years where he's actually healthy. I am pissed at Jerick McKinnon because this is one of the reasons why Max isn't in the league, but that's for another day. Bottom line is this, he has the pedigree. He did it in Minnesota when he was splitting with Latavius Murray. The guy always got hyped up weird early in his career and he never panned out, but I think he might have matured as a runner. Yeah, it's funny. But I think he's a very, very good late lottery pick. Those are my two favorite lottery picks just based on not just necessarily the talent, but the offenses that they play for. Here's some other honorable mentions for lottery tickets that I think are good, but I don't want to evaluate them too highly. I'm going by the app and showing where they were taken to see if they qualify as some lottery tickets and as to why they were. Boston Scott in the 11th round, I think, is a fantastic lottery ticket if Miles Sanders doesn't pan out. I do think he has standalone value as well. So I liked that pick to a T, bottom line. Scrolling down, then we had in round 12, one lottery ticket that I liked a lot in this one was Allen Lazard. I don't know if he'll get there, but bottom line is if he can proclaim himself as the number 2 in the Green Bay offense, I don't think Aaron Rodgers has lost a step. Allen Lazard might be a decent, flex option come season end. Will he be league-winning lottery ticket upside? No, but he can also sustain value, and that's why I'll mention him as an honorable mention. The funniest thing in the draft, though, I should have capped on was round 13. Jaylen Samuels, Benny Snell, and Anthony McFarland Jr. all going on at the same time. You're trying to figure out who it's going to be. I can tell you it's not going to be Jaylen Samuels. So I think Benny Snell is a good lottery ticket as of now. I don't see Anthony McFarland coming in there and, as a rookie. I like him for Dynasty. Harsh would agree. But I do think with Connor's health, a big concern. I would say that Benny Snell, these Raven reports, why not put him on a lottery ticket scale? This guy, I was shocked didn't go earlier, so I'm going to say he's a lottery ticket. Laviska Shenault. This is a really good lottery ticket. If he can overtake Chris Conley for number 2 in targets because they don't have a tight end, they're going to be in a lot of garbage time. And I know my man Andre listening to it, I sound like Sal Petri as I'm talking really fast. But look, bro, Laviska Shenault, really, 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 really good. And I know we could even. This is just a shame this guy fell so far. Look. The reports are negative, and I understand, but I couldn't let N'Keal Harry go past the 14th round. Come on, dude. He's still going to be, look, I know he doesn't separate, but Cam Newton throws it in tight windows like he did in Carolina. So give me N'Keal Harry as the last lottery ticket guy. All right, gentlemen, when this is uploaded, you are going to enjoy. If your name was mentioned on this list, for good or bad, maybe you're going to have to rethink some things. So don't go crazy. But it's just my opinion. I will put out everybody's draft report cards, and I'll give an in-depth analysis on what I think the squad is, what I think their upside could be. It's going to be a lot of fun.